Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to A Visit to the Mound. I'm Lark Smith, along with
Stan Hough.
And today we want to talk about college baseball. The college baseball season, well, the JUCO baseball season is already underway, and the college baseball season getting ready to kick off mid-February. So we thought we'd talk a little bit about the game of college baseball.
Yeah, and you got to freeze your tail off yesterday, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Sat out in the 40-degree weather and watched the doubleheader. It's just, all we have to do to get rain and cold in the state of Texas is to let the junior college baseball season start.
Well, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So, yes, I'm still trying to thaw out from that one. Major college baseball, D1 college baseball, the website D1 Baseball has already put out its preseason top 25, and the number one team, not only according to D1 Baseball, but Baseball America, Perfect Game, a lot of the different collegiate baseball polls, has LSU at the top. Okay, why is LSU at the top?
Good question. It's obvious they got good pitching. Their defense is good, and they're hitting the ball too, timely hitting as well. So that's those are things that go into play when you're starting to rank teams. So and by the way, LSU is in the SEC, and they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the top 10 teams are in the SEC.
So you stop at 7 just because that's the number of fingers you have on your hands?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Digits.
Yeah. Well, another reason why is every publication I've read has them with the number one recruiting class from this past recruiting cycle, and also they have collected the number one transfer class.
Yeah, that's something that never happened before, and now it's happening.
Yeah. Jay Johnson has done an excellent job of putting together a team. He's already got a couple of All-American pitchers, and Dylan Cruz and Tommy White. So they do look like they are the team to beat in college baseball this year. Everyone expecting them to return with all their fans to the College World Series in Omaha.
Well, they also got a guy named Paul Skeens too at LSU there too. So they're stacked up pretty good, evidently.
So you got a SEC team at number one. You got an SEC team at number 2 in Tennessee. Tony Vitello has put together a pretty good ball club. They had a run to the College World Series a year ago. My personal reasoning behind that is he's got a fellow as his pitching coach named Frank Anderson, who used to be the head coach at Oklahoma State.
Exactly.
He was the pitching coach at the University of Texas. Has always done very well as a pitching coach. And he's got a couple of All-American pitchers on his staff, led by Chase Dollander, who had 108 strikeouts a year ago, went 10-0.
What? How many innings he pitched? Do you have that?
He pitched a bunch.
Well,
I don't have that in front of me, but anyway, 108 strikeouts, 10-0, and they also have Chase Burns along with Drew Beam.
Drew Beam, yeah. So those are the top 3 with Tennessee.
And anytime you're talking baseball, you're talking pitching, location. But
strikes.
Yeah, you throw strikes and you get batters to put the ball in play, and so that's a reason why Tennessee is probably ranked number 2. You mentioned that 7 out of the top 10 are from the SEC. Well, 4 of the top 5 are from the SEC.
Exactly.
The only non-SEC team in the top 5 is Stanford.
Yeah.
Now, from my experience in D1 baseball, but this is like 10 years ago, there were always teams from California like Cal Fullerton, USC, Cal Irvine that were part of this top 25. You're not seeing them here anymore. Stanford seems to be the only one that, from that past, that was always in the top 25 in that poll.
The only one that's even close to them is number 25, Oregon.
Yeah.
So
So what has happened to the Pac-12?
I don't know. They finally got a little rain out there.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what I think it is,
Okay,
and I think it's facilities. When and again,
facilities.
When I was out there in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, places like Cal Fullerton, Cal Irvine, UCLA, when you compare their facilities to what is in the SEC and the Big 12, that was like a major league ballpark compared to a junior college ballpark. I mean, they just do not have the facilities out in California that reflects the success that those California teams have had in the past when Cal Fullerton was under Augie Garrido or George Horton.
Right.
When we went to UCLA, their field, Jackie Robinson Field, is right next to a cemetery, and the press box looks like just an old travel trailer that was set on, top of taking the wheels off, set it on top of a concrete deal behind the stands.
That's awful. One thing I'm seeing here, you're thinking about the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Where's Arizona State?
They're not on here.
Arizona State is a formidable baseball school and has been in the past. So I'm just curious where they are.
I don't know. They're not in here. And they've moved their facilities too. Now, granted, they moved into an old minor league ballpark where the Oakland A's used to train there in Tempe.
Mm-hmm.
But they've closed down the old Sun Devil Stadium or Packard Stadium there that was right next to the football field. It's a parking lot now. That's where guys like Barry Bonds and Bob Horner and Floyd Bannister, some really great major league ball players came from. Odeby McDowell.
Well, you got to wonder what's going on out there in the whole thing.
Yeah.
The Pac-12's blowing apart anyway. I mean, with two teams going over the Big Ten in football, doesn't make things aren't looking up out there. But
I mean, they used to be one of those conferences you had to really look out for every year, and you wanted to go play them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you want to play the best. It's a great indicator of where you stand.
Yeah. I never got to see the USC campus because the only time that when I was doing play-by-play for Baylor, that Baylor played USC, we played at Dodger Stadium. Well, that was a great thing to do. I enjoyed the heck out of that, but I didn't get to see the USC campus, which I'm told that I'm not missing much.
Well, anyway, we got the Pac-12 is not very formidable in this group this year. So,
yeah. But those other two teams in the top five are Ole Miss and Texas A&M. Both of those teams were at the College World Series a year ago.
Jim Schlossnagel's down there at Texas A&M, and he was he had put TCU on the map too.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we see TCU at number 15 as well. So they haven't lost a whole lot.
Well,
I mean,
Kurt Sarloos has done a good job of maintaining what Slosh has started at TCU.
Exactly.
But Slosh is able to take A&M up to that next level that Rob Childress just couldn't seem to get them to.
I understand. I mean, TCU's got a nice little ballpark up there in Fort Worth.
Well,
it is really,
somebody calls it the Rector set, but it's mostly
it's nice and
I've been
compact.
there. It's compact. I'll give it that. It's compact. I mean, the fans are going to be right on top of you if you are a visiting ball club, and it's a far cry better than what they had back in the old Southwest Conference days.
Oh yeah, I've been there. I was there. It was like a little league ballpark.
Yeah, that right field wall with the concrete. You had to crawl up the concrete, and the fence was another 10 feet on top of that concrete wall. It was kind of weird. Yeah. But no, they got a very nice field there at Lupton Stadium.
Yes, they do. Now we got some East Coast teams here like in the middle of the pack. You got East Carolina, North Carolina, Maryland, Virginia Tech as 11, 12, 13, and 14 right there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think Virginia Tech's an ACC school, and North Carolina, that's ACC as well.
North Carolina usually has a pretty good baseball program. And I'm surprised that they are outside of the top 10 right now. But year in and year out, North Carolina, South Carolina, who I don't see on my poll, they may be on your collegiate baseball poll, but South Carolina, those two teams usually are very good.
They're ranked 23rd.
23rd in the
Baseball America.
Baseball America poll.
Yeah.
I mean, they usually have a top 25 caliber team. Clemson used to be that way, but we don't see Clemson in the poll this year.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
I see Miami's there at 22. There's another ACC team.
Yeah, well, Miami should be there every year, considering the weather they have, and they have a very nice facility there.
Yeah, that's nice down there. It really is.
Yeah.
You
would think that they could recruit. Plus, it's a private school now. If they're having money problems now with NIL and all that, I don't know, but that may be part of it. That may be part of USC's problem. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good question about how this NIL is going to affect the baseball side.
Yeah.
I mean, it's prominent in football.
Oh, yeah.
For
I mean,
sure.
that's the focus of NIL right now is football. Seems like those groups that are being formed for NIL purposes are all focused on football teams, but not necessarily on baseball teams. But I haven't really had a chance to talk to many coaches as to what baseball coaches may or may not be trying to accomplish when it comes to NIL. And now, another thing that I didn't think of was the transfer portal in baseball and how open that has become. I've always known the junior college route was a very good way for players to develop the first 2 years and then go on to four-year colleges. But now you've got guys that are good enough to be on a roster of a four-year school, but not necessarily in the starting lineup as a freshman, and they say, okay, I'm going to transfer and go somewhere else next year.
Well, it's a good way to get playing time early. You're right about four-year schools. They're usually playing their juniors and seniors up there because they got a little more experience.
Yeah, but sometimes they lose a lot of those what would be seniors due to the draft. They get
correct. That's right.
Once they turn 21 and draft eligible, many of them are off to the big leagues. So that's a way to replenish those that don't stick around for their senior year.
Well, junior college if you're at a really good junior college, it's a great opportunity to show yourself to those major schools, major colleges, D1 schools.
Yeah, and a lot of these junior colleges are upgrading their facilities to help draw in a lot of those good ball players that need development, and they get a lot of D1 transfers down to the junior college level to get playing time, get experience, get a little bit more coaching. Because just in my experience, by the time I got to the JUCO level, I still hadn't been taught anything about baseball. I'd played baseball, but hadn't really been taught. I mean, I had little league dads and the football coach who drew the black bean as a high school coach. He wasn't necessarily the baseball coach, but he got the job as a baseball coach.
That's true.
So, you didn't learn anything from them. I learned more from teammates than I did from any of my coaches. So, once you get to the junior college level, though, that's where it gets serious. That's where the real instruction starts, as far as I'm concerned.
No, that's right. I agree with that. Can't disagree. I know most of the time in high school, you're getting football, like you said, a football coach that just drew the short straw and is coaching baseball. But I tell you, the coaches that are getting to the junior college and D1 college or upper four-year schools are quality people. They're getting there for a reason.
Yeah,
and they are teachers. They're good at it, motivators, and they know the mechanics of the game. They're good at that too.
Well, you look at Mitch Thompson, who's just taken the job at Baylor.
Of course,
after several years at a junior college, is learning the ropes as a head coach there. You've had Wayne Graham, who came from San Jacinto to Rice and took Rice to the College World Series. There's a coach at Iowa Western from the last couple of years that had a very good. I think he's moved up to D1 baseball. So I mean, that's also a building block or stepping stone for the coaches as well, to learn what it takes to run a program. And that's what I loved about Mitch Thompson is the whole time he was at McLennan, he was working, but from his experience as an assistant coach in D1, he was trying to make everything that happened at that junior college be a D1 level type program. He wanted to teach those kids what it's like to be in a D1 school. He did everything he could to raise funds, to be able to bus those kids on a nice bus instead of a yellow dog. Try to get them something other than peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on the bus trip.
By virtue of doing that, he's trying to move them to those 4-year schools.
Absolutely.
And the more he could do that, the better off he was being. I mean, the more people, the more he scouted, the more college scouts and pro scouts. So
I'll tell anybody that listens that Mitch Thompson does more for his team or his players and his program than any coach I've ever come across.
Well, you were there and you firsthand witnessed it.
Yeah, I did.
So,
one other thing I wanted to bring up when we're looking at this preseason top 25 for college baseball, there's no Texas there. There's no Baylor there. What is going on in the Big 12? I mean, the highest ranked team you've got is Oklahoma State at 9. And TCU and Texas Tech are in the top 25, but 15 and below.
Are all the good baseball players in Texas going elsewhere?
Maybe so.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah. Well,
these other teams that we've mentioned that aren't in here, like Arizona State, all these guys, they're not in there either. So you're right about that.
As a fan located in Texas, watching Big 12 baseball, it's a bit upsetting to me that the Longhorns aren't there, that the Bears aren't there.
Well, maybe they will be next year.
Well, maybe. They need to improve quite a bit, don't they?
It's all about not how you start, it's how you finish.
Absolutely. We hope you've enjoyed our discussion of college baseball today, and that's our time for this episode of A Visit to the Mound. We do thank you for listening. If you have any questions or comments, anything you would like for us to cover, we would love to hear from you. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at A Visit to the Mound, or visit our website online at avisittothemound.com. Make sure you like, subscribe, and review this podcast, and be listening the next time we make A Visit to the Mound. That'll wrap up this Visit to the Mound. We certainly appreciate you joining us today for a little baseball talk. Anytime you want to hear something about baseball, you can find us anywhere you get your podcast, or you can go to roguemedianetwork.com for the next edition of A Visit to the Mound.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.